Hey there, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Jason Boyer here in Asheville, North Carolina, in case you're watching from somewhere else. And it is now 3 o'clock this afternoon on Saturday, and we want to get you updated on our ice storm. We are still expecting things to go downhill pretty quickly later on this evening. Right now, I'm getting reports of some sleet, some snow, nothing significant at this point, but that is likely to change as we get later into the evening and certainly into the overnight. So let's take a look at the large scale picture. The storm is obviously on a very large scale, stretching from Albuquerque and New Mexico with all kinds of snow happening up in these areas. Oklahoma, Missouri, St. Louis, the I-70 corridor impacted greatly by the snow already, and the I-40 corridor through Tennessee, a big impact here as well with snow in Nashville, now changing to some sleet. I'll zoom in a little bit more. You will see the purple, that is sleet. Sleet falling, Jackson, Columbia, south of I-40 into areas just around Chattanooga. Chattanooga even reporting some freezing rain earlier. So things are starting to change rather quickly for them. A little slower in the process. Most of the moisture you see falling or on radar actually is not hitting the ground here to the east. The air is so dry, the moisture is evaporating that, the air I should say is evaporating that moisture before it can hit the ground. But over time, we will see the column, if you will, of air moisten up from top to bottom, and we will start to see more steadier and heavier gradually in terms of the precipitation that's going to fall. So some snow on the front end. We knew that was going to be the case. Still some snow possible on the front end of the storm. Getting reports of that again in the mountains higher up. And then the sleet. Sleet is something we're going to be watching for. Models are indicating that there could be a lot of sleet involved in some cases. That would really cut down the ice in terms of freezing rain totals. And that is actually what we want. We want more sleet rather than the ice. Up here in the high elevations over the Smokies, a lot of pink, so that's freezing rain indicated by the radar. Again, 441 is closed into the Smoky Mountains National Park coming out of Cherokee, so not advised, obviously, to get any traveling going. And there's just going to be a lot more moisture coming in the coming hours, so plenty of time for this storm to hit us pretty hard. Let's take a look outside right now with our Hunter Subaru Skycam network. You can see nothing falling in most cases. Roads are dry. They've been pre-treated in some cases, so that's great news. In most cases, really, they've been pre-treated, and that's going to keep the road surface temperatures up. I do want you to note the temperatures, air temperatures, are a little warmer than models indicated would be at this point in the game. That is also a very good thing, folks. The harder we can make the atmosphere work to cool the surface, the better off we are. Now, it's not going to change dramatically, most likely, but that is a good sign that we're running a little warmer than models indicated we would at this point in the game. Let's fast forward a little bit. There's 4 o'clock. Temperatures will start to cool more in the eastern sections of our area. We're talking from Asheville to the south and east. So a lot of colder air locked in some of these areas versus out here. Look at the temperatures west. I mean, they're going to be significantly different. And that is probably going to lead to a much different outcome if you're in Robbinsville, Bryson City, Silva, Cullowhee, Franklin most likely, Andrews, Hayesville, and in between. Those areas are more likely to get more of the rain rather than the ice, okay? Because the temperatures will be a little warmer. Let's move forward a little bit farther than that. Now we're past sunset, and this is when things will get interesting. We got a lot of sleet potential here in purple. Hey, that would be good. As I mentioned, models are now indicating more sleet initially in areas that were expected to get more freezing rain initially. So that's a good thing. Cutting down on some of the ice doesn't guarantee all these locations that you see in purple will be getting just sleet. Some might be getting freezing rain. Now, to the west, yes, temperatures in valleys are certainly a little bit above freezing. Now, Franklin, I'm worried about you there, and Waynesville, obviously, for the icing. That would be freezing rain most likely. But Silva, Bryson City, Robbinsville, Andrews, I mean, you're staying above freezing even around 8 o'clock this evening. That's a good thing. Thus, you would limit any kind of ice potential. Let's move forward a few more hours. Now we're at 10 o'clock. You still see a lot of sleet here from the French Broad River Valley, like Marshall. Mars Hill might be seeing some of that. Asheville, Brevard, Hendersonville, even down into the I-85 corridor. Let's hope that is the case, all right? Because yesterday, most of this was freezing rain. Okay, let's hope that's going to be the case for you down there, more sleet than freezing rain. But there are definitely areas getting freezing rain to our west. Now, it's not going to be everywhere. As I mentioned, the valleys are a little bit warmer. It's mostly the higher elevations and some spots that are getting that icing to accrete and cause problems. Now we're up to midnight tonight, and you'll see the icing starts to get a little farther south of Madison and Yancey County down into Buncombe. Now we're talking freezing rain here. More likely, we're still talking a good bit of freezing rain in some of these places west, although, again, rain is green, and that's the valleys. Still some sleet over the I-85 corridor if it's not already freezing rain, and still sleet for our foothill neighbors. This might be a really big sleet maker if this is true, and we can believe the data, and there you would have a lot of sleet in the foothills still going on overnight early on. Now, look at the pink really show up now. This is our concern. All of this would be freezing rain according to this model starting around midnight or after, and it just goes and goes and goes. And several hours. This is now just before sunrise, about an hour and a half before sunrise Sunday, and it's a lot of freezing rain. Waynesville, east into the foothills. Now we've got freezing rain already for you in Marion, Rutherfordton, Morganton, if not already. It's been happening, and still up into Burnsville, Marshall. You can see a lot of areas, obviously. But again, if you're out here in the green, that is a very good scenario. Obviously, temperatures way above freezing, so you're already in rain a lot of places west, say, of Waynesville and Lake Junaluska. Now we're at 8 o'clock in the morning, and still plenty of freezing rain, folks, coming down. Temperatures are just stuck below freezing here. Still rain, though, farther west. Watch as things get into the early or late morning, and then eventually afternoon. This is a lot warmer air now starting to get punched into our west, and even Waynesville might be warming closer to freezing or above by 10 a.m. So this warmer air is getting kind of into more areas by late morning tomorrow. That's the hope, and we certainly will start changing over to rain then. But freezing rain, obviously the pink, still goes for hours and hours of it for many areas from I-26, again, west, southwest of Asheville and east. And there's noon, still more freezing rain than areas to the west. And now we're getting around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, starting possibly to see some of that warmer air get into Marshall, Mars Hill, the northern end of the French Broad River Valley, maybe Weaverville and Barnersville, maybe over to rain by then. Definitely still rain out here. I mean, this is heavy, heavy rain that could be falling into the western zones here. Haywood, Jackson, Macon, Swain, Graham, Clay, Cherokee. We're talking a soaking heavy rain that could cause some minor flooding, if you can believe that. But the freezing rain, I say it 100 times, there it is, still going for a lot of us south and east. Now by 3:30 in the afternoon, this is interesting. I mean, the models are saying this warmer air might start changing things over, even around Brevard or Asheville, and that would be hopeful. Burnsville, you might be already transitioning to rain. Can't say for sure, but that would be very good. That would start limiting the ice, and the ice accretion would stop. 6 p.m., now we're starting to see the end of the storm. Already the end of the storm for our neighbors west by 6 o'clock in the evening Sunday, wrapping things up pretty quickly on the French Broad River Valley, Asheville, Brevard, and over time it will end even for foothills by 8 o'clock. It is done, okay? Let's just say most of it, if not all of it's done, even for you to the east. Now, backside of the storm, once we start seeing Sunday night roll into Monday, there will be some snow starting to break out here. You'll start to see this into the morning on Monday. That's going to be the high elevations closer to and along the Tennessee state line. That's going to be minor, but there's still the chance for snow overnight into Monday for those high elevations. This is probably the best way to break it down. Sleet is obviously something that I will be watching closely for the trend here. A lot of sleet on the front end possible for Asheville, and certainly for our neighbors up into Spruce Pine and Burnsville, and then Canton as well. So let's just hope that we can get more sleet than freezing rain. The numbers are still pretty dire for you in these areas. Brevard, Hendersonville, you're still talking a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice. These are pretty significant ice accumulations too in Burnsville and Spruce Pine for freezing rain. Even Asheville, Weaverville has 2/10 to 4/10 of an inch of ice. That would cause some concerns, obviously. Branches, trees, branches mostly coming down, maybe some power outages. Once you get above a 1/4 inch, you start risking that. You get a half inch or more, and it's really going to be rough. Look how much rain, though. I might have to up these numbers for Bryson City, Silva, Cullowhee, 1 to 1.5 inches of rain. Very little ice on the front end of the storm here later on this evening and early overnight. That's something I'll be watching. A lot more rain could fall for you. Marion Old Fort could have a big sleet amount. Also, big sleet here, 1 to 2 inches in Rutherford and Tryon, Rutherfordton and Tryon. But still, there's a good bet for up to a half, or I should say at least a half up to a 3/4 inch of ice. Okay? And that's going to be a big problem. So let's talk about the differences. Again, I just said, hey, you get more than a 1/4 inch, it starts to be a big problem. And here's where we go from damaging to crippling. So less than a 1/4 inch of ice is considered limited impacts. We're talking a thin layer on surfaces, slick sidewalks, spots on roads will be icy, isolated power outages. Once you get into a 1/4 inch or more, up to a 1/2 inch, now you're in destructive, okay? Meaning that coat of ice is much thicker, obviously. Vehicles, windshields completely encased, dangerous bridges, numerous power outages become more reality in that situation. Once you get into crippling, now you're talking 1/2 inch or more, up to an inch beyond. Obviously, major tree damage with those kinds of ice totals. Roads become impassable, widespread and prolonged power outages. We're talking several days worth of power outages with that kind of ice. And that is still very possible, especially into our southern mountains, southern foothills, Transylvania, Polk, Rutherford, Henderson, southern Jackson, over into very southern Buncombe, McDowell as well. So heads up in those areas. That's where we see some of the biggest ice accumulations, and there could be a lot of that as well. And then very northern upstate, if you're up into northern Greenville, northern Oconee, northern Pickens County, I would have more concern for you rather than Greenville proper, Spartanburg, maybe 1/2 inch or less of ice there, and certainly more sleet initially. So freezing rain is our biggest concern for obvious reasons. It's the heaviest, it coats everything. The sleet is going to be a high impact in some cases because even though it doesn't stick in terms of power lines, branches, it bounces. It's ice like little hail, right? And it's going to cover the ground, and you can't really drive in that either. Okay, you can plow some of it, but it's just going to be a problem. Snow is not a big issue, still a low-end impact overall, because even if it does snow, that will be covered up by ice or pounded by rain at some point in southern mountain locations. So power, travel issues, stay home. I mean, it's just going to be a mess. Ride this out, and we'll begin to thaw out a little bit at a time into next week. I do have more bad news, unfortunately, about the brutally cold air that's coming next week. It's going to get very, very cold again, especially at night. So I want you to stay safe, stay home. It's stressful. It raises the anxiety level very much. I understand my own family. All of us here have families at WLOS, and we're very concerned for them as well. I've touched base with mine several times, telling them to be ready for power outages and just hunker down and do not travel. Get a lot of blankets, get sleeping bags, have plenty of bottled water on hand, and make sure you got your medications, your food all ready. You're not really going to be able to leave in most cases that get ice. Those that don't get ice, obviously, traveling might be a little more easier for you out into the far western mountains. But for Asheville, Buncombe County, Hendersonville, Brevard, Waynesville, and northeast and southeast, it's going to be rough. Okay, that's the update. Stay safe. We'll have more on WLOS throughout the day. We'll be doing cut-ins later on. We got a newscast at 6, of course, and then we'll be doing hourly cut-ins even beyond that. We'll stay with you through the entire storm. Please stay with us and stay safe.